Welcome to Pioneer, the podcast series for serious innovators, brought to you by Wrays. Here, we talk to innovative entrepreneurs, CEOs, scientists and policymakers about innovation.
Hello, my name is Frank Hurley. Thank you for joining us today in our Innovator series, Pioneer, where we talk to people about their business, their new ideas, policymakers, etc. Today I have Steve Wildison, the CEO of XTD, a publicly listed company. XTD stands for Cross Track Digital. Steve, welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks, Frank.
So Steve, tell us about Cross Track Digital.
XTD is a technology partner to the rail operators, making money out of media revenue. We have large format screens that are positioned on cross-track walls of train stations, both underground and above ground, whereby we broadcast, we'll call it a closed-circuit television network, out to the commuters while they're waiting for their trains to approach the station. Generally, this is paid by TV advertising, coupled with some content. We also have partners like Sky News, who provide us with news, weather, sport and entertainment. We also have Healthy Me TV doing some content as well.
That's interesting, Steve, but where's the actual innovation here?
The innovation, or the IP, is all around the train approaching system being coupled to a content management system. What we have is obviously a train coming into station, and the whole objective is that a train driver is not allowed to be distracted by red or green lights that might be projected on from one of our screens. So we have developed a wireless train approaching system, which is then triggering back to a platform server, which then controls the way the content management system displays messages as trains come into platform.
So Steve, as I understand it, this has not been done anywhere in the world, and you guys have a patent out on this technology?
Correct. The way we have done it is a little bit different to the way other types of technology is being used. There are projector systems, there are, we'll call it simple TV solutions, but what we've actually done is built and designed an industrial strength LED screen, which is a large format LED screen. It's been anti-static dipped, so it basically repels dirt. It keeps clean. It's extremely robust, and at the same time displays a very, very high quality image with very, very low maintenance.
So that'd be important, because that environment is particularly harsh. A lot of vibration, a lot of humidity, I would have thought. And you're above ground as well as below ground, aren't you?
Yeah, in Melbourne we've got 32 screens which have been running now for about 18 months underground. And now in Brisbane we've got a number of stations that are using above ground screens as well.
And how do you make money out of this?
We've partnered up with an out-of-home media group who, we'll call it a concessionaire, who resells the space on our behalf. So as I said before, it's run like a little bit like a closed-circuit television network. It operates in a loop. We know that people who, the commuters that are riding the train, are coming through in waves. So we run generally a 3 to 4 minute loop. It's combined with generally 6 adverts coupled with content, news, weather, sport, entertainment, and then of course some other entertaining videos, or with sound, and that space in Australia is sold by APN Outdoor.
You've got 2 contracts. You've got Melbourne and you've got Brisbane. Do you have any expansion plans?
Essentially, those 2 networks were built as our shop fronts, and we're now taking those 2 shop fronts out to the world. So we are heavily focused on Southeast Asia and also on North America at the moment.
Exciting. So how long has it taken the company to get this far in their journey, and what have you seen as the main learning points on the way?
It's been about a 4-year process to date. We did an 18-month trial and test with MTM in Melbourne. That was a lot of the R&D stage of it. We have then obviously gone live and have been commercial for the last 18 months, bringing on a full network of both Melbourne and Brisbane for the last 12 months. So what we have learnt is how you've got to deal with operators, as in rail operators. We've also learnt about working with the media resellers as well. But essentially we're developing a new marketplace in the out-of-home space. So traditionally out-of-home advertisers or resellers are very good at selling advertising, not terribly good at developing technology, and we sort of sit in between those media sellers and also the rail operators and work with both parties to make sure it works well. The model had to be developed. We had to educate media buyers and we had to educate media sellers on what needed to be added to maximise revenue.
Okay, what about when you're at the startup phase? Because you were a new company, you pretty much a new business. You started this up from nothing. People always talk about getting access to capital as one of the main issues, particularly when there's a mining boom going on. I imagine most people are interested in mining, and innovation in technology was not seen as so important. How did you deal with all of that?
Capital's a big problem. We're obviously extremely CapEx heavy business, but we're very low OpEx, so that's a good side of it. Meeting the right people helped us find the right money at the right time, which there's a lot of people out there that will give you a lot of advice and try and use delay tactics to slow things down to benefit themselves, but at the end of the day, when you find the right people, that helped a lot. Strangely enough, raising money now in the same space, we've got a lot of very, very good support from the shareholders that that have invested into the business, and we've also now on the verge of breaking into that international, we'll call it international opportunities, and therefore the funds are starting to watch us closely as well. So raising money isn't such an issue. It's more around keeping everybody happy.
Because you've listed, haven't you? You backdoor listed December in 2013, 14?
So yeah, we did a reverse takeover of a shell called White Eagle Resources.
So where do you see the company in 12 months? You've talked about Southeast Asia and I think some other markets you've got in mind as well. What challenges do you see, particularly moving from that startup phase that you've pretty much passed now into actually building a company?
Look, we've got a few HR issues that we need to get around to make sure that we've got the right staff in the right places. Right now we're doing it with a very small team, but essentially it's a bit of a laundromat, this business. We put things on walls and people pay us for it. The technology has been developed. We are continuing to work with software developers to run better, we'll call it back-end support and monitoring. But the real opportunity for us is winning contracts with rail operators offshore. Where we want to be is probably around about 120 screens installed over the next 12 months on international waters, but continuing to work towards sort of 5 or 6 international contracts over the next couple of years.
So if you do go international, I would have thought there are some ongoing maintenance engineering issues. You've mentioned HR issues. Are they significant things that infrastructure you have to build, or they're pretty low key given the nature of the technology?
We tried to future-proof the design of the system when we engineered it in the first place. So we know the equipment is very good. We've used, we'll call it Rolls-Royce as far as the type of equipment that we've opted for. We had the choice of using much, we'll call it less expensive. I don't like to use the word cheap, but equipment, and we weighed it up and decided to literally go for the best that money could buy. Unfortunately, that's also probably the most expensive that money can buy as well. The advantages of using that equipment is we have less maintenance. which means that we can run with relatively small teams into these new markets as well. All of the equipment is 100% monitored. We know if anything is not working at any point in time, and you generally can send people out to do routine servicing pretty quickly. The hard access is getting access through the rail operators to make sure that we can get on board and fix things when we need to fix things. Because obviously we have trains moving around during the course of the day, so that cuts out access then. So it's really between that last train and first train, which is probably about a 3-hour window in the middle of the night. And
you're very much a transit commuter company. That's your target. Is it just trains, or do you see this model as going elsewhere?
Look, we as a company are now developing, we'll call it parallel technologies, but the technology that we have a patent on at this point in time is 100% on that cross-track model. And right now, there are hundreds of thousands of train stations around the world that are our target market, so we are pretty busy in that space.
Thanks, Steve. Very interesting. Are any new innovations planned, and if so, can you describe them to us without giving away confidential or patentable information?
As I said before, we've got some parallel technologies that we're developing right now, but we're not in a position to be able to talk about those just yet.
Okay, so let's watch this space. What advice would you give to budding entrepreneurs listening to this? They've got an invention, they've got an idea, maybe they've even got a small business. What advice would you give to them to get to where you are now and hopefully beyond?
My first bit of advice is don't go in without deep pockets. Starting up a business costs so much more money than what you ever expected to do, and that goes back to raising capital. It sounds easier than it is, and meeting the right people is fine. You'll meet a lot of people along the way, and some of those people will help, and some of those people will hold you up. So don't put all your eggs in one basket, and make sure that you keep moving forward. But at the same time, it's rewarding. It's great. It's good fun, and you've got to enjoy the ride.
History tells us that a lot of successful people, innovators, wore a lot of pain in the beginning, lost their home, etc., went broke, tried many times, many different things. Is that your story, or you kind of just hit the jackpot day one?
It didn't go broke, but we were doing it pretty tough for a while as well. It's been a bumpy road. We've had businesses in the past. Well, Lunalite, which was our previous business, went through a bit of a roller coaster. Leading up into the GFC, we were relatively successful, but coming out of the GFC, it was a very different story. So then we became an R&D company without new revenue coming in. So it is a long, as I said, it's a journey, and you got to sink your teeth into it and make sure you get through it.
So what I take away from that is you have to have total belief in your product or your idea, because if you don't, you'll lose faith on the way.
You do, 100%. Look, essentially, we developed technology that was probably we developed something which was more advanced than what the market was ready for at that point in time. In saying that, if we didn't develop it at that time, it would never have commercialised today, because it's an obvious space to be in. Yeah, look, you do have to have faith. You have to have faith, and you have to enjoy yes, you have to have faith. That's a good question.
So what I'm to me, looking at what XTD does, it's kind of a no-brainer. But that's, now that you're here, looking back, it wasn't always everyone had the same vision. It took quite a while for people to believe that there was a product and there was a revenue stream and there was a growth opportunity here, and I think all of that's changed for you. But what seems to be a no-brainer now was not that a few years ago. There's a lot of people to get across the line, from what I can understand.
Yeah, look, we had to convince everybody from the rail operator, all of the unions. We had to get government sign-off. We then had to convince media sellers that this is new space. We had to convince them around the model to sell the space, remembering that they're selling billboards or bus shelters or, we'll call it posters or stickers. Moving into the digital strategy that we've put in place now and working with the people that we're working with now, we've developed a really good solution, and it's very rewarding. But it's a long road, and you've got to get through all of those hurdles.
Thanks, Steve. That's been really interesting, and thank you for contributing to Wrays podcast and our innovation series. Good luck with your journey. Excuse the pun, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us today for the Wrays Innovator Series. If you would like to know more about today's topic, please email us wrays@wrays.com.au.